everybody, and welcome to the Throws of the After Show. Your favorite people coming together, talking about themselves this time instead of playing other characters. We're going to get into it and speak with our beautiful cast of actors and actresses. Some people just had to take a drink during the intro. It's wild. It's wild.
Bad.
It's wild. They're
My
just going
bad.
through. Daggum. If I hear a...
The mic
I'm just kidding. Dang. Yo, we got PvP in the interview today. But I just wanted to introduce our lovely cast, crew, everything around here for our live play D&D. You can. You go for it. Get in there. Now, let's get a little more granular with specific people. And I wanted to start off today with Hannah. You all know Hannah. You all love Hannah. She is a little nervous right now, so we're pulling off the Band-Aid.
Why you just call me out like that?
You have to say how you feel. It's like improv. If you don't call it out, then it's going to feel forced. I just want to make sure that we're getting ourselves down in our bodies, grounded. Are you ready for... Just like talking, having some questions go back and forth. Don't say sure like that to me. Daggum. First, I just want to talk to you a little bit because this is your first experience with D&D. This is the first time you've been going through it, and I just wanted to get your viewpoint on how you started choosing a character class, what that felt like, how daunting or easy it might have been for you through your experience with books and everything in the past.
Oh my gosh. So I wanted to play a character that I thought would be like fun. And I read a lot of fantasy books and things like that. So my first instinct, honestly, I was like really tempted to do like wizard or something because I was like, oh, magical. And I love Harry Potter. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. But then I started looking at like druid and realized it was kind of fun to like be animals too, and they get a little bit of like spell casting too, so I went along with druid.
So are you a big animal fan, or is it because you get to turn into animals as a druid? Is that what you're to?
I love animals in general. I've got a little corgi at home, so I was kind of like, oh, it would be fun to just like put myself in that perspective and be like an animal for fun in a little game like this.
Just see how she feels. Is that also kind of the impetus for your coffee obsession that we have learned a little bit about, that you guys have seen in the first arc of our show? Because I know you can't drink coffee.
I can't drink regular coffee. Yes. I used to work for a coffee shop, so I was a barista for a while and would get like free coffee all the time. And then after I stopped working there, I just kind of stopped drinking coffee. And then when I tried to reintroduce it into my system after like several months, I realized I started having like anxiety attacks. So I just cut out caffeine and I went back to like decaf coffee because I love the taste of coffee. So I feel like my character's coffee obsession is kind of like me living vicariously through her to drink all the coffee that I can't.
Yeah, and I know that you've shown a little bit of the being tired and then finally getting that cup of coffee and it waking you up. So it is that caffeine hit that you're able to play in the game.
Yes, and what's sad is that like since I can't have caffeine in real life anymore, I'm just chronically tired. I feel like I can't get that little boost of energy anymore.
So you genuinely miss the caffeine aspect.
I genuinely miss it so much.
Does the decaf coffee hold you over from the flavor itself, at least?
Yeah, for like flavor, so I don't really feel like I'm missing out. You know, if like my friends want to go and like get coffee or something, I'm like, yeah, I could do a decaf. But I always have to like double, triple check with the barista to make sure it's actually decaf.
Wait,
because I will get panic attacks.
Has that happened? You've asked for decaf and then somebody just handed you?
Yeah, I'll be like, is this decaf? And they're like, oh my gosh, I forgot. So sorry, let me remake it. And I'm like, oof, close one.
Goodness sakes. Well, lawsuit. Like, you could. If you're looking for some cash, bro.
We're getting litigious.
I'm saying, just from my perspective, I don't think I've ever liked a barista personally. So I would definitely make sure that
You
I'm
just
going out
said
of my
you
way.
never liked a
Excuse me.
barista as
You
a
attack-
former barista.
You do understand the fan base we will be developing likely has been baristas before.
I've always felt off-putting on you guys.
They
Every
spell
time.
his name wrong all the time.
Yes. If you guys want more hot takes, make sure to sign up to. Oh, never mind. Sorry about that.
That was wild.
I don't actually have a problem against baristas. I just wanted to make a
Allegedly.
pointed statement towards our boy Austin over here, who I know is a big sports fan himself. And I want to talk a little bit about that in comparison to D&D. D&D as a team game. I think being part of a team is very important. I think all of us probably feel this way. If you're going into it and your perspective is I'm always going to be away from the team, or I'm going to hate people in the group and never speak to them, I think that's a difficult way to go about. And I think there are people whose groups fall apart because they just can't work as a team. I don't know what sports you may have played growing up. I know that you're a big fan of sports, but do you think being part of sports and team-based activities like that helped you on your journey towards GMing?
Yeah, absolutely. I played basketball growing up, football, lacrosse, some soccer in there, and then recreationally played things like tennis as well, which is a bit more of a solo sport. But no different than whenever your coach calls a play for another player on your team and you're simply the assisting factor. I think especially in a game like D&D, you have to be willing to kind of step on the sidelines every once in a while. When someone else is having a massive character moment, or the fight is oriented around them and their skill set, or a situation comes up where you're not well suited. If you're a bard and it's going to take someone to push something, you're probably not the one. You'll do things to support someone else. I think it's akin to when it comes to football, like if you are the running back or the wide receiver, sometimes the pass play, sometimes it's run play. You're not going to be able to be the focus of every play, but you're still assisting the team as much as you possibly can.
I think that makes a lot of sense too, because the most well-rounded, most well-respected receivers are usually the ones that, like the Larry Johnsons, that will go out of their way to make sure they spring a big block for their running backs or their bubble screen to get around the outside.
Absolutely.
So you think that would help players in general around the table to be more team-focused in their storytelling, look at other people to help them on their journey?
Absolutely, because I think they're, especially new players, and understandably so, whenever you're developing a character, you want to have those character moments, which of course everyone wants to have their time to shine. But at the end of the day, because you are a team, you need to be willing to put in that work whenever you're not the main focus. You need to be willing to be like, all right, I'm going to step back this time. And so, again, drawing the parallels between sports and D&D is sometimes a little loose, but I think in that aspect specifically, it is very one-to-one. I think oftentimes whenever I've played with people who have played sports before, they more intrinsically understand the fact that, like, oh, this is not my moment. Step back.
I think that's very interesting. Just from a there's not a huge overlap, I feel, in the, I guess, nerdosphere and sports. Like jocks and nerds don't always overlap when it comes to D&D, TTRPGs, anime, stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's been a long history of not really liking each other, which I think is kind of breaking down these days.
Very
More
much so.
people like TTRPGs. More people watch anime of all types. It's like a cooler thing now, which is really awesome. How do you feel having grown up in being on both sides? How does it feel today that it's more well respected and accepted?
Yeah, it was interesting seeing that shift even in high school, because growing up, you definitely had people who were the video gamers and you had people who were the jocks who were going outside, or elementary school and middle school. But then whenever, honestly, games like Fortnite come out and shows like Stranger Things come out and they become these huge popular hits, along with even weirdly enough, the rise of the MCU, all of those confluence of events entering into the main culture, it shifted things in high school where there were more fans of anime in high school. Like jocks were like, oh, I love Dragon Ball Z. And then you had people willing to try D&D more often simply because like, oh, I love Stranger Things. This game that I think is for nerds, what's up with that? And even in a way, in the opposite aspect as well, you even saw a rise of sports in COVID times, which was a little strange. F1 in particular, a lot of people, so many people I know who are not into sports got into F1 because it was a sport that was still going on. It was something that they could engage with, and they've stayed fans ever since. So I think the barrier of entertainment and like the predisposed lines that we kind of grew up on with 80s and 90s movies, with the jock stereotype and the nerd stereotype, that absolutely broke down, I think, within the late 2010s to early 2020s.
I think so too, especially F1 golf. All these different things got big. And people like Jamal Williams, running back Jamal Williams, he talks about Pokemon all the time. He talks about Naruto, a bunch of different stuff. As an NFL player, almost allowing people to say, I can be at the highest level of sport and still love these different shows that were nerdy. I know when Japan had the Olympics, Goku was the face
He
of
was
the
everywhere.
Olympics.
Everywhere. And you're even seeing it now. I think there was a VTuber night with the LA Dodgers just a couple months ago.
Yes.
Wild that that's a thing. But you're starting to see that crossover just become more and more naturalized as well. Because I think people are realizing that just like sports, it's a game. And there are games on the tabletop, and there are games in video games, that there's so much crossover between the two that it's kind of a natural fit once you break down the predisposed stereotype of that's for nerds or that's for the jocks.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I would love to see more people just get involved, or at least try.
Yes.
At least try.
Please
and seeing
try.
If you like it. If you don't like it, fair play. Fair play. But if somebody brings you in and just wants to have a good time, I think it's difficult to have a bad time playing when you're with people who want to have a good time with you.
Agreed.
And I want to talk with you a little bit about, since we're discussing D&D specifics. I know you worked on a project in college about D&D. Always wanted to play D&D, never really got the chance. So you looked at it from a very analytical point of view, a way to create. Was it a documentary? Was it a paper about D&D itself?
Yeah, it was for in college. It was for one of my media studies film classes. I think the prompt was something like about communities or virtual communities, and so, but it was super open-ended, and I knew that Dungeons and Dragons was always something that I wanted to try, and that I always had that interest, but up until that point I didn't really have an entry point. I even remember in high school, I know there was a D&D group that met in the library. One of the librarians led the groups, but I was too I didn't know how to enter that space, so I never did. So then when this opportunity came up, I was like, okay, I'm going to, in true liberal arts college fashion, I'm going to take this thing that I'm interested in and just do it. So I found a group that was playing on campus, and one of the professors hooked me up with their husband, who was a DM, and I ended up recording my very first ever D&D session for this that documentary. It was 7 minutes long or something, and so I basically did a reenactment of that D&D session, with actors, because I wasn't going to do the whole. I think the session took 5 hours or something.
Sounds about right.
As it goes.
That sounds about right.
Which to me, I was like, this is crazy. This takes all day. But now I'm like, oh, of course. But because that was my first experience, I was like, this is crazy. And one of my friends joined in, and we had an absolute blast. It was I think I played a wizard. But again, it's I was just jumping in, had no idea what I was doing, but it was an amazing group and just super fun to learn about it in that way.
How is it looking at it now, having more experience in it, and it not being something that you're doing essentially for a grade? Now, this isn't the standard sessions where you're just sitting there having fun with your friends. We are putting it out for all of you guys to see too. But from the perspective of it not being something you have to make a documentary about, and you have to have an understanding of it so you can express that to your teacher, or you have to understand the social aspect of it. How is it just as a player as opposed to someone writing about it?
It's definitely as much fun as it was doing that project and getting to play for the first time. This is 100 times more fun, just getting to. I think the thing that I've really enjoyed getting to do is go in depth with the character, because my other experiences have just been one-shots. It's it was just that one 5-hour session. I had a character name that we came up with at the table, figured out the stats, and how does this spell list work? I don't know. But to be able to craft a character and a backstory, and just really have that time beforehand to think about what is it that I want to play, and just I love going into research mode. I think that's kind of my jam. So being able to do that, and then and then just really getting to see how the character feels after multiple sessions has been a really, really fun experience. And then getting to see like other people's characters at the table grow, and how all of our rapport, like as a group, changes over time. Like that's just such a cool experience.
Did a lot change for you in like a first session situation where you've come up with this character, you've worked on a backstory, you've spoken with our GM specifically about what you want to work on, the different people you know, where you come from, and then you meet each one of us around the table, and you kind of get our vibe. Did things change in that moment in your own head as to kind of what your theming was, how you can bounce off with the different characters, what characters might be interesting to have more of a rapport with, be a little bit leery of? Did things change in that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. The first thing that pops into my mind is when we had our session 0, and just because that was like our first time as a group, getting to play a little bit with I don't even think we had backstories at that point, but it was more just our classes and our like general ideas for the character. And so since that was the first time really sitting down and getting to feel it out, I realized there were certain things that I was going for my character that maybe didn't play the way I wanted to, and I'm like, oh, this isn't, I think I was going for the more like stereotypical moody rogue at first that's kind of in the corner, and I'm like, this isn't a fun thing to play, and isn't like a cooperative like way to go about it. And so then going into the first session, took that little bit piece of information, then we had the backstories, and then for sure going into the session, it's like I think all of us kind of naturally, like being a team going into it, we have the ability to play off of each other, and are probably like fine-tuning our characters as we go along, because you don't know how it's going to feel to play a character until you're actually sitting there and doing it.
Kind of seeing what you've shaped and then what puzzle piece you can be to fit in with the group, and just kind of cutting a little bit of a corner here and adding a little bit here so that you can fit nicely within the group of everybody. And talking about backstories and things like that, John, I know that you bring a lot to the table in terms of writings. You've given yourself a bunch of actual writings, poems, songs, not to go into them because I don't want to spoil anything about your character, but I see that you often bring in backstories written down in front of you. There's a bunch of information that you bring from people, places, different things. Does D&D and being able to write that kind of stuff for your process open the door and help you scratch the itch of being a writer? I feel like I hear you talking a lot about liking to write, thinking about fantasy worlds and stories. Has D&D been a good way for you to progress that as a person, as a writer?
Yeah, I would definitely say that the fantasy novels that I grew up on, especially like Aragon, Paolini's series, was probably my favorite. And there's just so much detail within the chapters of like the personal experience, the backstory, memories, different avenues that are used to tell the story as a whole. And one of the unique things about D&D for me is that like I can just start writing a backstory for my character on top of adding the elements of the D&D mechanics and letting that play into the story writing, and all of the specificity goes unwasted, even if it doesn't see the light of day, because I can internalize all of it and I can reference it later, and I can deepen my connection to the creative decisions I made early on, and reinforce them with the experiences that we have at the table to like solidify, like, okay, this decision that I made early on, this is the first time I'm coming up, I have a confrontation or something clashing with an idea that I had. Am I going to double down on that idea, or am I going to pivot, and what does that look like, right? So yeah, there's like an in real time aspect to it that allows me to dive as deep as I want to as a writer, which is like a very unique experience.
I'm personally a big fan of content creates content is like a big thing that I like to think about in terms of working on social media stuff, working on different YouTube channels, things like that. Have you ever put into your brain the idea that all this content that you've worked on that can go in the background or come to the forefront from your characters, do you ever work through ideas for characters that might go into a short story, characters that might go into something, worlds that you've been wanting to flesh out, and you can bring it to a table and see how people play within that world? Have you ever used D&D as a way to push forward your writing, whether it's scripts or novels, novellas, things like that?
Yeah, I actually have. My attempt at DMing, which was a short-lived attempt, but it was fun in its own way. It had a very unique world to it.
He has DM'd more than once, by the way. Okay, so it's not like there was just one time that he's trying to carry. There's been multiple times that he has DM'd.
But in that regard, you know, the world that I was able to envision and bring to life through DMing, it was just a really fun experience in terms of, you know, if I wanted a story about a lone huntress that escaped a big city and went into the mountains, like, which was one of our characters for that campaign that we did, I got to really dive into, like, okay, what would a huntress's 6 months alone look like for me as the DM? Like, I got to, like, dive into that and then explore different nuances in the story, which, you know, writing for the sole purpose of writing is inherently fun, but having, like, writing with specific purpose or goals, I never dreamed I would write, like, a small story involving a huntress, right? It's not really in my wheelhouse, but when I dove into it, I was able to, like, really explore it. And
yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way. Because you have people coming in as players, they can give you things that you have to think about that you never would have in the past, which would be a great writing exercise, kind of like you're talking about.
Yeah, totally.
Never really would have expected to have that huntress or the shapeshifter. I know there's a shapeshifter in one of your campaigns. I don't know if that's ever been something that you really honed in on in your own writing, but doing D&D might legitimately help somebody broaden their horizons because of other people's imaginations to allow them to write more and deeper.
Yeah, there was definitely tons of content to pull from within the creative spaces that everyone brought to the table, and then it was just kind of like a scenario of just, like, formatting, like, how we wanted the story to unveil, and then taking everyone's unique ideas and putting them all together. So that's my favorite part about doing this whole thing.
Nice. And then talking about books, novels and stuff, Hannah, I know you're a big reader. I've seen your book collection. It is extensive, and there are specific bookshelves you're allowed to look at, specific bookshelves you're not allowed to look at. Not to give away things about you, but when it comes to approaching D&D, did books really help you with that? Did books allow you to think about character types that you might want to play, shy you away from characters that you might not want to play within fantasy? Did it help you have an understanding of what we were going for once we all started living in this world?
So I think the biggest way that it's helped me is probably, like, in session while we're actually, like, playing. Because as far as my character creation goes, I originally intended my character to be like this sweet little Disney princess where she's like, you know, la la la, let me talk to the birds and the animals. She's not. She's really not.
She does still talk to the birds and the animals, though.
She does, but she's very sassy and very caffeinated. So not quite Disney princessy.
Well, sorry, real quick. One of my notes that I have. Can you read what the third bullet point is?
Coffee.
Yeah, that's just one of my notes that I brought in to be able to talk with you is just coffee. So talking about caffeination again is perfect for you. Sorry, continue with your Disney princess.
So yeah, the books actually help me, like, in session, because whenever I'm reading a book, I often envision, like, the entire world. Like, sometimes if something that I'm reading doesn't line up with how I have it in my head, I'll go and reread it until it makes sense and I rearrange everything that I'm imagining. So, like, in session, I'm also, like, doing that as well. And so I'm trying to think of, like, what would be, like, something that I would see in a novel, you know, like, how can I work that into, like, the storyline? What would be interesting to do, like, for my character, things like that. So I'm always, like, looking at, like, you know, whatever is in the world, like, how can I interact with it? Things like that.
When you say because I think most of us do that, rereading something that you might have spaced out on a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think, we'll pause for a second. You good? You good? You good? No, you fine. You fine. Don't worry. Ooh.
You said, do you think? I do
Yeah,
think
I need to
sometimes.
go back a second. I think all of us have a situation where we'll go back and reread parts that we might have spaced out on. Do you think reading as much as you do helps you get to that moment faster in your head? When we're in a new city or a new town, having that background of reading through and understanding fantasy in general, because of that, do you think you can just picture all of it much quicker?
I mean, I think so, but it's hard to tell because I don't know how others, picture it.
I don't picture anything. I
My
just sit there
experience is
blank.
like very subjective to like my own, like what I'm experiencing. So I personally think that maybe I'm imagining things pretty fast. I like to believe I'm also a quick thinker and a little bit witty sometimes. But once again, like it's all subjective, so I don't really know.
That's actually completely fair. That is a completely fair point because I have no idea how fast.
What do
I'm
you
thinking
imagine?
what do I
when we're in
imagine?
session? Yeah.
Well, dude, there was one session. No spoilers, but I was told that there was like we could catch fish, and we may or may not have ever gone back to fish, and all I could think about was a brown trout. Like the entire session, all I was thinking about was a brown.
Wow.
And how badly I wanted to fish. Like that was 80% of my brain the whole time. And then looking around at the town, I was like,
Brown trout.
that looks like a fishtail. I bet they sell fish in there. I bet that guy has a fish. That's all I could think of. So you probably think faster than I do when it comes to.
Well, I wasn't thinking about brown trouts. I can tell you that.
They're so pretty. I would take a brown over a rainbow any day, personally.
Okay.
Can we insert
Pictures.
Don't tell We Play's point system. The rainbow trout's a beautiful thing, and don't you ever slander it.
Wait, over a brown?
Wait, am I making a reference that no one here understands? Those at
Yes.
home that have played We Play in the fishing game, you know what I'm talking about. The king trout. There it is. It unlocked. There it is. Yeah, the rainbow.
so
Don't ever disrespect the rainbow trout. I will not stand for rainbow trout
I'm
slander.
picturing Animal Crossing with the trouts now. Like that's all I'm picturing.
We're gonna go on a Southern California creek fishing trip.
Not a
All right, and everybody, we're gonna try to catch a brown. We're gonna catch a
Hey.
billion rainbow trout because they're everywhere.
and we'll bring you all along with us.
We like film the entire thing.
GoPros. Each one of us has a GoPro.
That would be so funny. I'm strangely good at fishing, so I'd be so down.
Yes, that's even
That'd be
funnier.
awesome. Austin, I did want to get back to you. We talked a little bit about sports.
Yes.
But I know that you have been in the D&D community for a very long time. I believe you've told me in the past that your dad had you playing D&D from a young age. And I just wanted to see if you have any anecdotes about playing with your family, what that meant to you, and if you have a favorite D&D edition, I think they're called. It doesn't have to be like, this was the best one in terms of all the analytics and the numbers and everything.
Right.
Just one that you had the most fun, even if other people might think it was not a very good version, but just had fun with your family with.
Sure. Yeah, so I started actually playing D&D in middle school. So my dad, he's the one that gave me all of my nerdy tendencies and my sport tendencies, to be fair. But he actually had us playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which is not the very first edition, but basically the first popular edition. We had THACO, which is to hit armor class 0. So I was doing that math when I was 12 years old. But actually, though I have engaged with a lot of other RPG systems outside of D&D, I've only ever played two D&D systems, really. It was Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and 5th edition, because I am young enough that 5th edition came out when I was 13 years old, because 5th edition came out in 2014. And so I seriously started playing... yeah, I'm the baby of the group, just as a heads up to those at home. Despite what everyone might think, I am only 23. So,
Bruh.
yeah.
That was, you said 2013?
It was 2014 was 5th edition came out, and I would have been
2014?
13 years
That
old.
was 4 years
wanna know
after
where
I
I was?
graduated high school.
Do you want to know where I was?
Yeah, where's everyone else?
I was in college.
Yeah.
I was in my second college.
Yeah.
About to finish.
I graduated from college.
So I've only actually really played 5th edition. That's where me and my friends, we did all our campaigns on. But it has been interesting now with the new rule set coming out, and also just like the progression of how D&D became popular on 5th edition. Because I know in the community, there's a lot of people who were diehards of 3.5 edition, which is where the Pathfinder split comes off of. So that was a lot of interesting things I never really experienced. But yeah, so fond memories of my dad kind of getting me into that, because my dad and I, we played board games together. He got me into bigger board games, and obviously D&D, and now here I am still doing that and telling my dad about all the stories that we have together. He gets spoilers ahead of time. He's the one that gets to know certain things. You guys have to stay and watch, but
Does he help shape anything?
he doesn't help shape anything, but oftentimes I'll send him texts or call him, and then he'll go, ha ha ha, that's good. Or
Such a dad thing.
there are a couple things that he introduced into our campaigns young that I've actually brought back. I believe in Arc 1, one of them is, you guys remember the magical dinner scene where
Yes.
certain effects happened? That was actually from a module way, way, way back when that I modified that he introduced me to. And I asked him when I was prepping up for that session, can you send me that? So he sent me a photo of he still has all those modules, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons modules from the 80s and 70s. He's still got those, so he sent photos of those for me for those tables.
That's awesome.
yeah.
And just so everybody knows how diehard this man and his family are, he just got back. This is going to date when we're recording this right now,
Little bit.
but I'm cool with that. He just got back from Gen Con, and I believe you said it was your
Sixth year. I've been going since 2018, which was my in between sophomore and junior year of high school. And outside of the 2 COVID years, 2020 and 2021, we've been every year since.
And how many times, if you had to ballpark it,
Yeah.
how many times have you been at Gen Con and said hook 'em horns?
Maybe 3. Not that
Only
many.
3?
I know. You got to remember the crowd we're dealing with. They don't really wear college gear. They're not
fair.
really. They're not really repping their football teams or anything. So I don't really get to hook 'em horns very often. But I'll do it for you all. Hook 'em horns. In fact, actually, this is my class ring right here. Hook 'em horns. Hook 'em horns.
I gotta make sure we have a hook 'em horns in here for you. I have to make sure.
Thank you.
I have to make sure. And I wanted to get back to you a little bit about art, because I've seen some of the art pieces that you've made. I don't want to give it disservice. There was like a miniature set of fairy homes that I saw that you made. For anybody at home, this isn't going to be exactly right, but Guado Salam in Final Fantasy X, the last time I went to play through it, all I could think of was Michaela's fairies, what that she made for an art piece. And I've seen these different cards that you've been making. When it comes to all of that and how much you've worked on these really interesting art pieces, how much of that comes into your imagination while you're hearing about a different town that we're walking into? Does that kind of fold in so you can see those buildings in your own mind's eye as someone who likes to do art?
Yeah. I think I definitely yeah, it's now I'm like how do I imagine it? Because I know I'm imagining something when we're at the table. I think I feel like the way that I can describe the way that I like visualize things when we're in a session, it's like it's pretty like fluid. Like whatever I visualize isn't set in stone, and so then when there's like more information, then it'll slightly change and whatever. So I'm okay with like the change, like whenever like you provide like any like bit of detail. But I definitely, this isn't the question that you asked, but I definitely get inspired by like I feel like all of these different creative like elements are interconnected, and so whenever like if something happens like at the table that inspires an idea to an art project that will then feed into like another creative idea. So it definitely is all very interconnected? That's a very good question. I'm gonna keep like
So-
thinking. Like I feel like I'm gonna like
Is
keep
it-
thinking about that. How it's like,
Yeah, as you're walking around the different towns and hearing new descriptions and hearing other people in the cast talking about things, is it almost a clay sculpture before the kiln, and then once we leave, it gets fired? It's like it can always change up until the moment we're gone, but now that's set in stone for you.
yeah, that's a pretty good analogy for sure. And I mean, even just like certain, even like backstory elements, it's like there's certain things that I feel like that I like wrote or whatever, like something like will happen, and then like, and I'm sure this happens to all of us, where it's kind of an ever growing and ever changing thing, that, you know, something happens in session that you maybe weren't expecting, or you react in a certain way, and then it kind of changes on the fly, and that, but that's part of like what I love is being able to be like flexible with it. Yeah.
And I don't know if you have a specific answer for this, but in your imagination, working in a fantasy world, is everything more painterly, or is everything more true to life, almost medieval? Like, does it sit in a plane of reality in your head, or does it sit in a world of a more fantastical, contrasty painting?
I feel like it exists in like a more grounded and realistic place, and I feel like that's also why I like to take elements from our story and like take it into, like, I have a journal for my character, and it kind of serves as like a session journal that like I'll copy my notes into. Then there are also pages that are specifically Aelis's pages and what she would write and how she would write it, and so I like having that like physical tactile thing, and so it helps it feel more real, or like bringing that into this world, if that makes sense.
So
so it feels like it's.
Does it help you bring you into your character, into the world more? Is that kind of what you're going for?
Yes.
Instead of being
Yeah.
something so different.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's just like it's one little bit of connection to it. Yeah.
Nice, because I love seeing the stuff that you're working on. There was like a set of cards that she's been working on recently, and they're very imaginative and inventive, and it's not something that I used to do a lot of art, but that's just not how my brain goes about creating things. So it's always extremely interesting to see the imagination you bring to the different pieces of art you make.
Thank you. Well, fun fact, that was actually originally they were inspired by Aelis, because this light spoiler, I don't know. She's playing cards. And so I had seen something where somebody was like painting on playing cards, and I'm like, oh, that would be a really fun project. And so immediately I thought of Aelis. The cards themselves don't have anything to do like with her, but that was like a little bit of overlap there of like Aelis's world, and it's like, oh, like then it got me thinking, like, what would her playing cards look like? What would be on them? So
What was that card game you taught me how to play?
Dutch Blitz.
Dutch Blitz.
Blitz,
There was a game, I'd never heard of it. She taught me how to play Dutch
So
Blitz,
good.
and I was having a great time with it. And I love playing just card games with family in general. And I know, John, that you're a big fan of family. Like you're big into family, making sure that you spend time with your family. When it comes to, we've talked about like teams, kind of with sports. Do you bring anything from your brothers, from your family, into the characters that you're creating, just as an anchor point for yourself while you're going through this very different world with very different ideals?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I usually pull stuff obviously from my personal life into my character work, just because it's the most grounded work I can do, because I understand it. With this character, not to get into too many specifics, my character, growing up the way that he did, he only has brothers. I only have brothers. So the connections that I had between my character and the other characters in the story of his backstory are very reminiscent of the relationships I have with my brothers. Also, the relationship between my character and his father figure in the story is very reminiscent of my own dad. So I definitely pull from family. It's such a big impact in my personal life that I allow it to bleed into my professional life a lot of the time. A lot of my character work comes from memories or instances. A lot of my writings even come from family moments, right? So yeah, definitely a lot of my character backstory. My brothers and my parents are going to watch it and be like, I see that one, I see this one. Like, I even like have little quotes written into my backstory that my family said growing up, that when they get to see it, they'll be like, I know what that's from. So.
And are you mainly excited for them to see it, or are there some things where you're like, I don't know how well this is gonna go. No one else knows, but my family will know that I felt that way about that day.
Well, no. So there's not like the NPCs in my character's life are not named after my brothers. They're not named after my dad. It's not like I'm not vicariously letting my dad know how I feel about him through my character. But I do. It definitely influences a lot. And just back to your current question, there's not any moments that my parents or my family, I'm not unexcited for them to see any of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I don't know. There might be something that they're like, "What the heck were you thinking?" I'll be like, "I have no control over the people at this table."
Whoa! Now it's on us.
To rein Justin in.
Me?
And I can't. Sorry. So we'll see. We'll have to see.
Oh, speaking of, it's hard to rein Justin in.
Oh.
There's no notes about this, but because he said that, now I feel like I have to say something. Who at the table has made you facepalm the most?
Well, definitely in terms of facepalm of moments, just because it's definitely Drayden. In terms of as a player, the actions you've done that made me go, what? I mean, sometimes it's a tie between, I think, these two. Because Finnan will say things on accident that just...
It's an accident every time. Every time.
But every time he says something, I'm just like, how did you think this was going to go? And then Zalaria will just... There's a moment that happens later on. You'll see it. Where there is a relationship that Zalaria develops with a certain character that is just a mind-boggling relationship with that character. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
Best part is I know exactly. I think all of us know the exact relationship you're talking about, and you don't even have to hint at it.
No,
you don't even have to.
I can just say Zalaria and a specific character, and everyone knows.
Yes.
It's justified. It's okay. You don't understand.
You guys will see. I'm just gonna say, y'all will see, and then y'all can tell us in the comments if you feel like it's justified or not. Because I don't think any of us know ourselves.
But outside of that, it is very fun how much you guys make me keep on my toes when you just say things to an NPC or you do things, and I'm like, didn't write that down in one of the possible options, but that's how this would go, so here we go. And it forces me in my prep work to be very diligent about not having situations or outcomes planned for everything, but allowing the flexibility that it can, where if I think like, all right, there are 3 ways this can go, and then you guys shoot out a piece of information that that NPC would not know, and that changes their perspective on a certain situation, I'm like, all right, that's going to make this 4th outcome because it doesn't quite fit in what these 3 outcomes might have been. And so with that, it allows a much more free world, which I think is a lot more fun. It feels... in a way, it's very improv, but almost like jazz-like, where you're throwing in a note that I'm like, wasn't expecting that. I got to change my key. I got to change my tune. But that's going to change the song, arguably for the better, because it was something that none of us were expecting, and we're just going to roll with it.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is how much you bring to it from being able to think on the spot or all the prep work you've done in the past, because you're so open to us asking things like, what was their name? Just like a random NPC whenever we want to. And you always have something prepared, it feels like. Never that you have to think up one on the spot.
No, that would never, ever happen on camera where I get asked, hey, who's this random NPC's name that it was meant to be a nobody? Yup, that never happens with this
Everyone
group.
matters, okay, Austin?
No, they
okay.
don't. No, not in this world. Nope. Sometimes a thing is just a thing because it needs to be a thing.
That is completely fair. And also, this is like just for all of you, whenever a word pops into your head. But in terms of, I don't want to say theme because I feel like that's too broad and specific at the same time. But a word that you would use to describe the feel of the show that we're doing right now, whether that is it's theming, what kind of genre you might feel it is, just whenever you think of something, start throwing them out. I don't want to put anybody on the spot specifically because it's tough to just come up with a word.
I can start out. We'll give them some time. Gray. In terms of moral ambiguity, I'm a fan of in stories allowing things to be both good and bad at the same time.
I genuinely thought he was like just monochrome,
mid, boring,
like,
not entertaining.
Always right here, just
a
40
solid
hertz.
6 out of 10.
Eye-catching, just mid. Just very mid.
No, but in terms of morally gray, I find stories to be the most interesting whenever good people, though I make the joke that you are villains, good people have to be encountered with situations where there's going to be pros and cons. I think so much in real life, we get thrown with these ideas like, oh, in the public eye, this person's a great person, this person's an evil person. Most of the time, it's down the middle, and I find that to be the most fascinating area where the most story and unique storytelling capabilities can be, because you're going to encounter and work with NPCs that you don't necessarily find the most palatable, but then on the other hand, the outcome upon which you work with them might be really good, but they're going to get something in return for that. And I just think that that's always such a fun moral dilemma to be like, okay, they're great with this aspect, like they're super pro animal, but they certainly aren't pro human. And for example, like Princess Mononoke, I love that movie because it has that same introduction of like that human city is a morally great human city because they're destroying nature, but they are egalitarian. In fact, they are female centric instead. Like there are so many benefits that they are very progressive as a city, but they're not all good. And I love storytelling like that.
And I appreciate that you set us up in a world like that because from my perspective, and it doesn't have to be right, but I feel like many stories today present us with a protagonist that's perfect. And now I can't relate to them, and it puts me in a position where I genuinely don't like following them. And I look for anyone else in the movie, in the TV show to follow because I'm not perfect and I can't associate myself with the person who is, which ends up, this one, I've been yelled at for this before, but in The Boys, not that I like feel like him, but the only character that I really feel like is growing and I can follow is Homelander, who is like a very not good dude. No. But there's a lot of characters in there where it feels like the show is telling me they're good, they're perfect, you need to love them. And I end up so often going towards these very horrible characters because they're the only ones I feel grow at all.
Change.
So allowing even the protagonists, essentially, of this story to have their own moral gray areas, giving them faults, and I feel like us giving our own characters faults
Very much so.
allows people to see our perspectives, even if they don't agree with them, and put them in our shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would throw out gritty in certain contexts, but ultimately an incredibly whimsical story is what we're telling. Whimsical is just the word that like encompasses the adventure aspects of it, the magical aspects of it, the comedic aspects of it, of course. But a lot to what Austin is saying, and to his credit, like he doesn't railroad us. He really has tried to set up this world that is like morally ambiguous, that gives us agency as players to discover what the moral compass should be, right? And you know, we probably have different moral compasses across the board, but like, you know, when there's overlap, we're going to connect, and when there's discrepancies, we're going to acknowledge it, right? And I think it just makes for a better, more grounded story. I totally agree with what you're saying about characters being so perfect nowadays. They're unrelatable. They're not, you know, these characters, we design the stories so that they're people you can root for. You're people that the story resonates. So that's all I got.
You go first.
So polite.
Yeah, I was I'll jump in and say full spectrum was the first thing that popped into mind. And in terms of like, even though as a group I feel like we tend to lean more comedic, there still have been certain moments where we can allow ourselves to sit in the drama of certain situations, and there are moments that y'all will see eventually that it's like, oh, that was major, and it's like we all take a moment to be like, what just happened, or something that specifically affects a character, and just seeing, and because for me especially seeing that spectrum and swinging from like from a comedic moment to a more dramatic moment, it makes each element hit even harder, you know, and it makes it more impactful when you have those moments, so I think at various points we have little bits and pieces.
Heck yeah, it's almost like a pendulum. You
Yeah.
have to. You can't have the energy to go all the way over here unless you started with the energy on this side.
Exactly. I don't even know if this is the right word, but I'll do my best to describe it. For me, it's like kind of mildly chaotic, just a little bit, because like Austin was kind of talking about how we always keep him on his toes. Yeah, not our toes, his toes and stuff. And I feel like all of our characters, you know, when we're presented with a problem, Austin gives us like solution A, solution B. We always go for like C, D, or E. And we're always coming up with like crazy creative ways to like figure out like problems and things like that. So even when you think you know where the story is going, it's not going where you think it's going. So I think it's a little bit chaotic in that sense.
Nice. I agree a little bit too. And I also think there are times where there's A and B, and then our C is like a fence sit. And it's almost like we shouldn't be fence sitting, but we do so many things. Like we smack our faces against the wall so hard until it's like, yeah, you know what? It ended up working. It worked out both sides somehow. You guys did it. Also, before we start wrapping this up, is there anything that y'all would like to say personally? I didn't let you guys know that I was going to do this, but open floor to you about what you want to say to the audience. Just if it's like a thanks, if it's anything to them for watching, or if you have any remarks about TTRPGs or your feelings on stuff. I just want to open the floor to you guys. You don't have to by any means, but if there's anything that you want to say to the audience over here personally, then go for it. This camera. Let the people know what you're... There's actually only this camera for them. I'm sorry. But let the people know what you're doing.
Let's see. First of all, thank you for those of you who are watching. Yay! But also just like as a new time player, I guess this is for like other new players. If you are scared to like get into D&D, but you like want to, like just go and do it. It's really about, you know, like having fun with a bunch of friends, and like if you have the right group to support you through it, like you can do the difficult class, you can build a complex like character story. Like it seems a little bit daunting at first, but like once you like start doing it, like it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to have help. There's so many times throughout the sessions that I still to this day ask like, how do I do this? And everyone still helps me, so just go for it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you for watching. Sorry some of my character voices are inconsistent sometimes. I'll be working on that, don't worry. And also, kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, don't be afraid to try other RPG systems as well. No free ads, but I think if you try D&D and you're like, you know, some aspects are great, some aspects aren't. There's such a huge world of TTRPGs out there. If you enjoy the improv storytelling of it, I recommend something like Fiasco. If you enjoy other varieties of themes and then like sci-fi, there's a lot of different sci-fi ones out there. Also solo RPGs. There's a lot of roll and writes or interesting ones. One I found recently is Void 1680 AM. I was telling Michaela about this, where you're basically running your own radio station and it's all done with a deck of cards and a dice. And so if you're going to get in this hobby, don't feel like you're just restricted to D&D. I think there's a whole world out there that if you're looking for a specific niche, you will find it, and it'll be incredibly rewarding. So just be open to that kind of stuff.
You by no means have to. If you guys want to, and if you don't want to, just let me know. Give me a nod, give me a wink, give me a whatever. Okay.
Go ahead, Michaela.
Thank y'all for watching. Yeah, I didn't have anything else to
That's
add.
fine.
Those are great comments.
Yeah, I will take this opportunity to, from the bottom of my heart, thank everyone in this room. We've been working really, really hard on this. I said to Michaela months ago, this is lightning in a bottle. I think that there's like some real magic happening here. And I'm just really grateful for everyone in this room, all the hard work that you guys put in, the story prep, your creativity, your energy. Huge shout out to Justin. Those of you who don't know, Justin does more than basically anybody for this show. He handles basically all the tech stuff. He's our host. He's the energy that we start and end the session with. And the show really wouldn't be here without him. So just a huge shout out to Justin. It's not scripted. He didn't pitch this over to me to say that to him, but
Here's $5.
yeah,
bro.
yeah, thanks.
He's like
yeah.
holding cue cards.
Yeah. Next card. Yeah. Lines. Yeah. Yeah. So just from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Justin, for all your hard work, man.
Appreciate.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody in this room.
Thank you.
Well, y'all,
Yo.
I think that's gonna bring us to an end on this first episode of the Throws of the After Show. Thank you so much for joining all of us here today on the couch, talking with these amazing people, getting their insight on their characters, on themselves. I just wanted to make sure that you guys get a good idea of the people that you're watching play this game, because they are great people behind their characters. I know my character is not the smartest guy. I promise, guys. I promise that I'm a smart guy. I promise that behind the character. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you guys so much for being here with us today. Thanks for letting us talk to you, letting us into your lives and your homes. And with that, everybody, we hope you guys have a great afternoon, morning, night, wherever you are, and we'll see you guys next time.